Pelicans win 142-122. It's just me and Chris Connor tonight. Let's do it.
First took away. Gas for this. Get your money's worth out.
Presented to you by the Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk, located at 19 Poydras Street by the Superdome. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk. Chris Connor tonight. I want to talk. We're going to talk about Brandon. Of course, we're going to talk about Trey. But let's talk about that second quarter run there. Pelicans got off to a slow start, but then they go on a 29-17 run to really just kind of get a big lead there in the second quarter. And the lineup was CJ, Hawkins, Naji, Jonas, and Brandon. When you space it out with shooters, boy, this team can really score. CJ was great tonight in that lineup, and obviously Trey Murphy. But what did you see, I guess, from everybody tonight? It was just one of those get-right games, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for starters, them attacking the weakness of Washington early. And I think if they would have done it from the beginning of the game, maybe Washington doesn't get off to the run in which they did, which is throwing the ball to Jonas and letting him, generating offense in that way, simply because that is the matchup to start the game with. Right. And they waited until I think Washington went up by 10, 13 at that point to give Jonas a few touches. And, the offense kind of moved from there. And then after that, Jose, Naji, Trey all get in the game. You get some spacing. You get a different level of energy. The pace picks up, the defensive intensity, and, they pretty much kind of take off from there. And then CJ McCollum had a huge second quarter. His second quarter alone, back-to-back threes and some other things he did offensively was real big in this team getting back in the game and kind of keeping it close before they eventually took off.
And look, man, that's like kind of like the perfect scenario for CJ, right? We talk about how great of a scorer he is and like what he can do when he's got the ball and creating separation. When you give him a unit, right? And look, I'm not saying, like, I know Jordan Hawkins is struggling, right? And there's been a lot of like debate on when he should be playing, when he should not be playing, things of that nature. But when he's on the floor, no matter what, you get space, right? And with CJ McCollum in space with him and JV, they had a two-man game where the Wizards couldn't stop it. It led to just dribble drive. It led to shooting. It led to layups. It led to kickouts. That's the kind of stuff when you surround your best players with shooting, what it does. Now, don't get me wrong. I know the Dyson Herb lineups have been productive, but when you have shooting out there, it's really hard to stop this team. All right, let's talk about Brandon. Man, I was watching your halftime show. There's something when Kyle Kuzma's on that other side, like Brandon gets up for that game. 40 points tonight. 14 of 23 from the field, 1 of 4 from deep. But Chris, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. AD said this on the stream. When he's got 12 free throw attempts, that means he's attacking the rim at will. A couple times he really attacked the rim, but also saw pump fakes where he was leaning in, he was bait fouling, all that stuff, which you want to see Brandon do. He's starting to do more of it. What did you see from him tonight?
I saw him at different parts of the game kind of take what was available. I talked earlier in the season about, people fighting demons. And there were a couple shots attempts, a few of those fakes in which you mentioned that maybe Brandon could have went up with. And some of them, he did throughout the game. But it got to a point to where Brandon was like, okay, because I think early on, Washington was really engaged. So they were cutting off his lanes and cutting off his ability to navigate through the paint. So he kind of took that for what it was. And then he adjusted and said, all right, I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm going to get to the rim. I'm going to get to the free throw line. Like you mentioned, he had a few plays where he jumped into his opponents. And then after that, once the game started to change, Washington's defense changed. He just attacked. And from there, everything was different. Washington didn't have anyone that could guard him. And you just saw just a dude that looked like he was going to get 40. And he did it. I think in the first half alone, he
hit 26 threes. In the first half. I think he didn't shoot a 3 in the second half. if I'm not mistaken. But there was a point, Chris, where I thought he was gonna go for 50, and then he kind of started like he started sharing the basketball a little bit. Was playing unselfish. He had 3 assists, but he had back-to-back assists. I think one to JV, and the other one was maybe to Naji in the corner 3. Brandon was fantastic tonight. But Chris, this is why we're so hard on Brandon. Pause, because I think. When he plays like this and he's aggressive and he's scoring at 3 different levels, this is who he can be. Now, Zion Williamson wasn't there tonight. What does it look like with Zion on the court? Obviously, lanes are clogged more, but this is what we talk about when you have shooting on your team, Chris. You can space these guys out. And I'd like to see Willie just let me just experiment with some lineups. Like, that's why I can't understand benching Jordan Hawkins right now. I get it. He's struggling. People are like 36% from the field, 37% from 3-point line. He's not a good defender. Like, I get it. But you see what the space creates. Like, Naji Marshall was shooting wide open layups tonight. Like, I love to see Hawkins and Brandon Ingram share the floor with Trey Murphy. They even went small tonight, Chris. Trey Murphy played the 5. And we're about to talk about it. And it's a perfect segue. 6-7 from deep. We're going to talk about that. I think the most important stat, 6 rebounds tonight. When Trey Murphy's rebounding, this team's dangerous.
But it wasn't just the rebounding, and I talked about it at the the halftime show. He, we don't talk about defensive improvements as much as we do offensive improvements. It's just not. People just don't like to do that, which is why you enjoy this Jordan Hawkins conversation so much, right? Because one of the reasons that Trey, I think, is evolving or he's getting better is that we're not talking about his defensive mistakes as much. In fact, he's taking on a bigger responsibility. We're watching Trey pressure from the inbound.
Right.
Did you watch him? Did you watch him guard Tyus Jones or whoever was bringing the ball up for Washington a few times in the game? I watched him communicate a lot more. I watched his help defense be a lot better. I watched him get a couple deflections that should have been steals when it was a steal. I watched the block, and yes, I watched the rebound, and I watched him versus last season making more of an effort to get and go and be in transition, rebound the basketball, and then get the play going. Trey. His creation off the dribble, and while it's still not, it's a work in progress, but the creation off the dribble with the gravitational, I guess, force that he is, what you got to guard him from 30, then
literally 30 feet. That's not even being sarcastic, Chris. Like, you have to guard him from 30 feet.
Yeah. So you guard him for 30, but then he's explosive off the dribble. And now it's not just all right, even if he's not going to take a mid-range, or he's not going to take a pull-up 3, or you got to worry about him getting to the rim. Okay, if you foul him, he's shooting 90%, but he's becoming a better passer as well when teams kind of play higher up on him. I think Trey is developing in ways that's beyond the shooting. That's a given for what he is in offensively. But I think there's other things he's doing that's making him a weapon and a better player for what this team needs, and for the lineups that we want to see, these small lineups going forward, which I think is going to play big for his spot. Well, not spot, but his role on this team going forward.
Yeah, and look, Chris, you've been saying this for a while now about how he needs to be a better rebounder. And that's not just like us being like assholes or being harsh about it. It's like, because what you just mentioned, when you can play Trey at the 5 and he's rebounding the basketball, then you get Zion Williamson, then you surround with CJ, Brandon, and take your pick, right? That lineup right there, it's really hard to guard. And then if you're getting stops and cleaning the glass, I mean, the sky's the limit for this team. Now, okay, Zion misses tonight. He's most likely going to be back Friday. Is it going to look the same? Is it going to look different? My guess it's going to look different, where you're not going to have these easy attempts. Obviously, the Hornets are a little bit better team than the Wizards. But I'm just interested to see if things change when Zion Williamson comes back, because we kind of know how that starting lineup looks, and then the driving lanes and things like that. So I'm really interested in that. Also, I did not realize, Chris, that Jonas Valacniunas had 18 rebounds today.
Jonas has been spectacular, man, and not just in rebounding, protecting the rim, effort that he's given defensively. There's moments where, I think at halftime he had 4 shots and he made to the free throw line. He had 1 free throw line trip, but he had 4 attempts. While guys off the bench, I think 3 guys had 5, 6, and 7, but he was ultra efficient. And I think his ability to really go out there and rebound. I saw a stat the other day where, if we would talk, I think on and off efficiency, I think Jonas, Jonas was at the top of the list when we talk about individuals for the Pelicans as a team. But he took advantage of his matchup when they found him, when they didn't find him. And I don't know if you've been noticing, Justin, but we've been talking a lot less about what Jonas can't do defensively and focusing a lot more on what he can do, because he's been a much improved player. I think what we've seen to start the season is better than the Jonas that was that first got to New Orleans.
We talked about this, Chris, too. I'm glad you mentioned that. Do you think it's because to me, he's playing basketball year round? And I asked this to, I think it might have been Chaz the other night about, like, I remember last year, if you remember in FIBA, like he collapsed to the ground in the tunnel. Do you remember that? Like he might have been hurt or something. Do you think he's fully healthy this year? Like, does he look fully healthy to you, or do you think that's like, he's still the same guy?
No, I think he's the same guy, Justin. He's always beat up. I mean, no, like he's always getting. He got hit in the face a couple times today, hit in the arm, hit in the back. Like Jonas is always gonna, he doesn't get half the amount of foul calls that he probably should, and that's outside of just the bruising nature in which he plays. So, and when you're that durable, that just adds on miles and miles. I just think he's just gotten better as a basketball player in his role, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's completely agree. We got to talk Naji. I thought Naji, once again, this is the Naji game tonight. Turns back home, shows out. There's 2 parts to this. So Naji obviously comes back home, but also an incredible gesture of Larry Nance buying 70 tickets for Naji. Obviously you and Larry are close, but that's just the guy that Larry Nance is. Just such a big gesture from him. And he's always doing this. He's always in the community. He's always giving back, and stuff like that should not go unnoticed. Right. And like, that's just like who the guy he is, and just a team first guy, and understanding that this is a big deal for Naji, because, they're in the Eastern Conference. This is the only time he gets to go back home, play in front of the fans. So talk about that. And then obviously talk about Naji's, performance tonight.
Well, yeah, because, you gotta remember, it wasn't just a homecoming for Naji. It was a homecoming for Jordan Hawkins.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, did Larry buy tickets for Jordan's people too? Who knows? It wasn't talked about. But those are the different elements of leadership that we don't get a chance to talk about, because we focus so much on what happens on the floor. But you live with these people, man. You spend more time with these folks in this locker room at your job than you do with the folks at your home more time. I mean, that's just the truth. You spend a lot of time with these people. So things like that, things you don't have to do. And to that, 70 tickets, Justin, I don't know how much is a Wizards.
I heard that. That's a lot of money.
that's a lot for one game. That just shows the type of awareness and the different levels, I think, of leadership and understanding of what Larry brings to this locker room. And I think this organization in total, that you just, who else would have done that? It just takes a different.
Who else would have even thought about that too, right? Like thinking about that. Like, to be honest with you, it didn't. Like, I didn't realize like Naji, it was a home game for Naji tonight. I did not realize that. Obviously, I'm just a fan. Like, but it's still just he's always doing this kind of stuff. But also, like, Brandon did this. You remember for Jose when he came back and played for Brooklyn. Brandon did this kind of stuff. It's just it's just a nice thing to hear. Just like how close the team is, and that they're always looking out for each other, and it's just stuff that should not go unnoticed. Last thing, so Jordan Hawkins played tonight.
Wait, you didn't even talk about Naji's game.
Oh, you didn't talk about Naji's game. I thought.
Do you know? Did you know that coming? No, but wait. Did you know coming into this? Okay, if you had to say coming into this game, what was Naji shooting from 3?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Not gonna know a percentage. I would say. So I know he started off the year 51%. I would say over 38%.
Okay, 42.
42.
42 coming into the game.
Oh, how many attempts? How many attempts do you think? Do we know that? Let me look.
I think 2 point, like close to 3.
That's a decent. Let me see. Hold up. That's a pretty big sample size. 2.7.
And that percentage is only going to go up after tonight. I don't know how long this is going to last. But if this is a thing, this is going to make the conversation that you want to have about the next individual that we're about to talk about that much more difficult. Because if you're getting that kind of production from Naji from 3 and all the other things, the rebounding, the toughness, the defense, the in spurts, the
chaos,
driving ability,
it's the chaos,
the unorganized chaos, all the time.
That's what it is. It's you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
Shit, it's complete. You don't know what's gonna happen, and then he ends up with 16 points. But shout out
Lito's
to
joining. We're just almost wrapping up. We're just talking about Naji.
Yeah, man. I got a good time,
With Chris Connor, Chris just talked about unorganized chaos with Naji.
I mean, I don't know what it is about when he playing in the Northeast, but his handle incredible. Whenever he in that section of the world, like he was fucking putting people in the blender. His shooting's been consistent. I mean, I feel like you could call Naji a 3-point shooter, bro. Like,
do you know what he's shooting from deep this year? Would Chris just ask me this?
Off the top of my head, I would say probably 41.
Damn. 42 and a half.
Yeah, man. Justin.
2.7 attempts.
The man told us at media day. He told us this is been the best shooting offseason of my life.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. So, Leo, real quick, we'll let you get your thoughts on Trey Murphy and then Brandon Ingram. But Trey Murphy tonight, 6 to 7. But I was telling Chris, the most important stat to me was the rebounding. 6 rebounds tonight.
Bro, you rebounding is not just a defensive stat. Rebounding is really turning into an offensive stat because you get more possessions. You're able to get your weapons the ball. You know what I'm saying? Especially when those guys rebound. Like if Trey's gonna rebound and he can push the pace, like it's lights out. He fucking pulling up from damn near mid city and just like he's bro. I was texting me and Coach Mike were talking, and Trey's at the point now where I was saying his next step is creation of the dribble for others. And you saw some flashes of that tonight, and the world is about to be Trey's, dog. Like, I don't know how much longer you could keep the kid on the leash. And I don't mean to call him a kid in a disrespectful way, but like the world is his.
And that's why him taking advantage of these small lineups is so important, because eventually somebody is going to ask, well, if we love these small lineups so much, and this is how we want to play anyway, why not just start with a small lineup?
So, Chris, were you surprised when God, really good stuff, Chris. Oh, you're on one tonight. Are you surprised that Trey Murphy didn't start tonight? And what is that about?
Them probably looking at the numbers and the success of Herb and Dyson together. Them maybe thinking,
can I stop you there for 1 second? Because what I can't understand. Because I did the whole on-off numbers because my head was spinning a couple days ago about this whole Jordan Hawkins thing.
Yeah.
The 4th most used lineup has Hawkins in it, and a couple people were like, "Yeah, these are small sample sizes." And the same with the Herb Dyson lineups; those are small sample sizes as well. So when you say those, my whole point being is the coach staff looks at that lineup like, "Yeah, we can play that lineup," but then they look at the Hawkins lineup and like, "Nah, we can't play this lineup." Like that's what I don't understand.
I know Jordan Poole hasn't had a good year, but I'm assuming that, and specifically with the slow starts this team has had on the road and their struggles, maybe they're thinking we're gonna emphasize disrupting Poole and Kuzma over everything else to start the game, and it obviously just didn't work in the beginning. I think we all thought Trey was gonna start. I thought that was the easiest question of the night, but. I mean, he ended up working out, but yeah, I mean, I think we all thought that Trey was going to start, but I mean, he ended the game with 33 minutes and Dyson ended with 16.
I
And
didn't.
that's why I always say I don't give a shit I don't care who starts because of like literally the stat you just said, Chris. But I'm gonna let Lito go in a second. But do you think maybe that might have pissed him off a little bit, where he's like, "Nah, fuck this. I'm pulling all night tonight."
Well, that's crazy.
Pause.
But look, you know what's crazy? I don't think he
didn't say
took. I think what he had an alley oop.
He
Maybe
didn't take one
it
bad
could've
shot
been-
tonight. He didn't take one
Right,
bad
but
shot tonight.
he didn't shoot much early on in the game. If you, I think
Mm-mm.
I don't remember him shooting at all in the first quarter, to be honest. So it took a little bit. We're talking about 3 quarters that it took him to take 10. I mean, he had 10 attempts, but he got to the line. You know, he was 7 for 8 from the line. So I think Trey did a really good job of letting the game come to him. And maybe he was a little pissed off, but it got to a point to where he was doing more of what Lito talked about and just the creation. Like, teams don't know what is the right or wrong decision when guarding Trey Murphy. Because if we're at the gym and somebody just stands 30 feet away from the basket, you're supposed to let him shoot that. All right, if you're gonna make that, bro, go ahead. But for him, that's a layup.
But and you know what? And Chris, I posted this video. Lito, I gotta check your thoughts out, but I gotta talk about this because I get to see Trey work every day. And I'm telling you, every time I walk in the building, that dude is at the 4-point line, whether it be the top of the key or on the left or right wings, and he is working on that every single day. It's not like he just rolls out of bed and just shoots that. That dude works, puts in the work, and to see him put in the work, and then it, transferred to a game is something that like I'm blessed to see because it's such an incredible, it's so incredible to watch professionals work and just get so good at their craft. It really is. And like, I just like go back through my phone. I'm like, yep, I saw Trey Murphy working on that last week.
That's called the generational wealth shot. That's what that shot is.
4-point line, works on it every day with him, Hawkins, and Jose.
Hey man, not crawled so Trey could fly.
That's crazy. No, I ain't even crawling. No, I was like, not like, I don't even know.
I'm just saying, all the belief, all of the hope people had that he would eventually figure it out.
Did you really have that hope for Dahl? Like, you really like, hey, this is the guard of the future?
I mean, you hear Antonio Daniels talk about, how good he was in practice. How I wasn't there. All I'm saying is that he had some offensive variance. It just couldn't put it together.
And he still hasn't.
Yeah. probably never gonna happen. But like BNB, I got 40 on 23. I was encouraged at the number of threes he took, and B.I. go find out soon enough. First of all, he played a masterful game. It was he only had 1 turnover, which was so that's as clean as it gets. Plus 12, but B.I. go find out. And I think this is gonna come into fruition in the future. The more threes that he takes, he's gonna get more 40-point games. I think he's starting to figure it out. He only took four attempts tonight. He only made 1, but again, I'm big on the process of things, not necessarily the direct effect that happened tonight. Okay, you take these 4 tonight. Maybe on Friday you take 5. You know what I'm saying? Like it incrementally, it could go up, and I think BI is gonna. I was saying 21 points a game, right? But I also wasn't taking in his 3-point attempts going up this year.
And I thought some of those 3-point attempts, they weren't like wide open, right? Like they're a little bit contested. Some like that he would usually pass up in the past, like he was shooting them tonight. I think he might have had one off the dribble too. But is there anything I missed, Chris, that we haven't talked about?
Let's see here. I mean, I think
got about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we
Herb
covered.
was making 17. Herb was bad.
Stop. I'm banning plus minus from the show. I can't do it anymore because I guess we talk about Hawkins, Chris. I guess we could talk about Jordan Hawkins.
What is it? What is it to talk about? This is the drum that you are carrying on here.
Justin knows.
I thought tonight was perfect. I thought he should have played 8 minutes, 8 or 9 minutes. That's fine. Because here's the thing, Chris. What if he does catch fire? What if like that guy in the 8 or 9 minutes, like, damn, he's 3 of 5, feeling it tonight, space. Trey Murphy's rebounding. We can maybe possibly give him another run here in the second half. I hate stunting growth. That's what I hate. If you're going to bench him, cool, bench him. Then I'd rather him in the G League. But then again, tonight he gets some run. So like, I'm confused. I'm just confused.
That goes back to that goes back to our original conversation. I mean, I think the limit that you have with Jordan Hawkins is a roster problem. You know, it's too many. Like you want to cut away from, say, like, let's say you want to cut away from Jose's minutes, but Jose, again, man, I mean, has games like even in today, he was a part of the lineup that brought them back, you know, into the game before, you know, they steadied and took off. Jose made 2 threes tonight. He had, I think, 2 steals. You know, Naji was of course incredible. You're not taking away from Trey. Right. So then at that point is the dilemma Dyson versus Hawkins. I mean, I don't know. I think right now what they're doing, Justin, and you would have to, you know, I'm curious your thoughts on it. It feels like they're going matchup by matchup, game by game. Coming into the game, they knew Jordan Hawkins was going to play, but that's matchup. That was a thought about what they were going up against and what they thought he could fit in. Are you okay with that?
You bring up a really interesting point, because I think if Zion plays tonight, Hawkins gets another DNP. I really do. And Herb got in foul trouble early, and Dyson wasn't that great, so you kind of had to throw in Hawkins for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, Chris, I think that they get caught up just on this substitution schedule. Like, I don't really care about a game flow. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this guy in at the 6-minute mark. I'm taking this guy out the 2-minute mark. I'm getting this guy. And it's like, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like football, how you script out your first 15 plays. I get it. You want to script it out, and this way, but shit happens in a game that you can't plan for. Maybe Herb picks up quick too. All right, man, we got to get Dyson in, or maybe someone goes down with an injury. That's fine. I understand that. But like when Hawkins, like you just saw it tonight, surrounding Brandon Ingram with shooting just makes so much sense. Surrounding Zion Williamson with shooting just makes so much sense. And tonight you just got at the rim at will when they played Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, and Jordan Hawkins at the same time. Now look, Naji's hitting it at 41%. I know they're gonna hey, let him shoot, but dude, I just don't like benching rookies who are playing 25 minutes a night. I understand because of injuries, and then bam, DNP.
Justin, I don't disagree. Go ahead, Lito.
Justin, I just wanted to know, like, on the 41%, can you tell me? You don't have to pull it right now, but like, can we figure out what it is from the corner? Because
Naji Marshall.
Yeah.
Hold up. You can keep talking though.
Nah, because I think his corner shot is kind of turning into his bread and butter 3.
That's a really good point. Hold up. Because now, Chris, what I saw tonight, I saw Jordan Hawkins. His confidence is gone. Like I just think it's gone, and that's what sucks about the whole thing.
I don't think it's gone. He took 7 shots. I mean,
Leo, they're up 25 in the 4th, and Cody Zeller's in the game with like Kyra Lewis. I'd hope he takes some shots. Like Kyra Lewis is in the game. Wow, yeah, you're right, Lito. He's crushing it from the corner. He's crushing it from the corner? Sorry.
I don't.
6 of 8 from the right corner. 1, 2. 6 of 11 from the left corner.
Listen. I'm not saying that you're wrong,
mm-hmm.
but I just don't see it for this staff and with the amount of guys the amount of players that they have and that they will get back, including Larry Nance, including Matt Ryan. I just don't think it's as easy as we want it to be, and the amount of perimeter players that they have. You know what I'm saying? Steve, you can already pencil in CJ for 30 minutes. You can pencil in the combination of Herb and Brandon for however many minutes. You got Dyson, you got Jose, you got Naji. I just don't think it's as simple as we want it to be. And unfortunately, we have seen with past rookies similar things happen. We saw it with Dyson, certain stresses. The year before that, we saw it with Trey. So that's why I'm like, I don't see a realistic path, especially with him not being able to defend consistently until someone leaves or gets hurt.
That is totally fine, and I respect the hell out of it. Then I need him in the G League. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Because people are like, some people understand like, oh, well, he needs to be around the practices and guys, y'all got to realize in regular season, there are very limited practices. Like there's not like they're going up and down for 2.5 hours. Like this is training camp. Like practice is like 30 minutes of like going through some sets, defensive schemes, what we're going to do for that night. And then they get a bunch of shooting. So like, he's not really learning much right there. I understand he wants to be around the team. I need that dude to get as many reps as possible. That should be the goal for Jordan Hawkins. So if you're going to make a decision, make the decision like, all right, let's bench him. Let's set him down for 3 weeks. Let's let him get his work in at the squadron, get as much shots up as possible. Then if things happen, we bring him back up.
Okay. So here's a question for you, Justin.
Yeah.
How would you do it? How many minutes does he play? What are the lineups he plays in?
Yeah.
When does he play? Like do you expect him to play every night?
Okay, that's funny. I thought a little bit about this today. So my goal is 8 to 10 minutes a night, and if he catches fire in that, you kind of play as the game goes on. I thought about this. So Zion usually comes out the 6-minute mark. That's a good time for Trey Murphy to come in. That's fine. CJ can then come out like around the 2-minute mark. Now your choice is Naji. Jose, or Hawkins. And with that lineup, I would actually go, you could sub Naji in for JV, and then you can go Hawkins in for CJ. And you go, oh, shit. Now I got too much shit going. It was CJ, Hawkins, Brandon, Trey, not Naji, and Zion. That's what it was.
Okay.
And Zion the 5, and try small ball for like 3, end the first right there, and then begin the second there, and then get him out. In or out,
so
and then bring in Jose.
You want him basically, I won't say exclusively, but you want him, of course you want his minutes attached to Zion, but you want him also and Trey.
Yes.
That's the goal.
I think if you have multi-shooters of either, because CJ comes out in the first quarter anyway, so you get CJ a break. Hawkins comes in. I know your defense goes down, but you're going against second team units. But if you have Hawk, Trey, Zion at the 2-minute mark with Brandon and Naji.
So where's Dyson? Where's Jose?
Dyson and Jose come in the second.
Okay. You're gonna have to
players.
You're gonna have to. Yeah.
Because Dyson needs to play over. Dyson needs to play over Hawkins. Yeah, you're right. Fuck.
I'm gonna need you to. You know what, Justin? When you get some time, I want you to diagram it. I want to see a diagram of how this looks.
I want to see it too. I'm actually really intrigued by it
because look, you're really gonna be pissed off when Matt Ryan comes back. Those are two shooters.
But like, okay, so like, I think I'm stuck up on Naji. If it wasn't for Naji shooting 42.5% from deep, I would have Hawkins over both of them. But
hold on one second. I just asked you that corner question because actually he's shooting 52%. But go ahead.
You can't bench 52% from the corners. You can't do that either. So that's why I was like, look, I'm cool with it. I just don't want him rotting on the bench. Either send him to the G League, I'd be straight with that, or give him 8 to 10 minutes a night, bro. Like you can find 8 to 10 minutes in an NBA game. McLaughlin for the Timberwolves played 8 minutes the other night. Like I was like, who's this? I had to look up the scoreboard. Like I didn't know who he was. I really did. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like Jared Butler, I didn't know Jared Butler was still in the league.
The Wizards are a bad team. The Wizards are an atrocious team. That's we can't lose context of all. This entire conversation is great about what Brandon did and what CJ did and what the night Trey had and Jonas. The Wizards are a god awful basketball team. They are one of the worst basketball. They are the worst basketball team I've watched on television or in person this year. It's bad.
It's really bad. And I was actually mad watching Jordan Poole play basketball. And I don't even like care for the Wizards, but like I was mad for them because it's awful. I could not imagine paying my hard-earned money to watch that. It was tough. I actually like Kuzma. I don't mind. I like him. And I like Gallinari.
Imagine paying 70 tickets.
But that, you know what, man, that was a nice.
Imagine giving him a max.
Now how you can get off that? Let's hear from DraftKings Sportsbook. In the NBA, the game can change in an instant, but no matter how the action unfolds, you know DraftKings Sportsbook has your back. This week, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5 on basketball. Win or lose, you get an instant dub. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on basketball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. Smash that like button and subscribe. See y'all later.